When Roman soldiers found Cleopatra's body, two of her handmaidens were still alive, barely breathing, dying beside their queen. One of them had just enough strength to fix Cleopatra's crown before she collapsed. August 1st, 30 BCE, Alexandria, Egypt. Cleopatra VII stood on the walls of her palace watching her world collapse. In the harbor, Roman warships blockaded the city. On land, Octavian's legions surrounded Alexandria. Inside the city, food supplies were running out. Her people were starving. She was 39 years old. She'd ruled Egypt for 21 years. She'd been Julius Caesar's lover, Mark Antony's wife, the richest woman in the ancient world. Now she had nothing. 10 days earlier, everything had fallen apart. July 22nd, the Battle of Alexandria. Mark Antony led Cleopatra's remaining forces against Octavian. It should have been Egypt's last stand. Instead, it was a betrayal. Plutarch documented what happened in his Life of Antony. The Egyptian fleet stationed in the harbor was supposed to attack the Roman ships. The moment came. The Egyptian admiral raised the signal flags and surrendered. The entire fleet, 19 warships. They rowed out to the Romans and switched sides without firing a single arrow. Antony watched from shore. His own navy had betrayed him. Then the cavalry deserted. Then the infantry. Within hours, Antony's army had melted away. He rode back to the palace alone. Cleopatra was waiting. According to Dio Cassius's Roman history, Antony blamed her, screamed at her, accused her of planning the betrayal. She'd sold him out to save herself. She denied everything. But Antony didn't believe her. He drew his sword. Cleopatra ran. She fled to her mausoleum, the massive tomb she'd built for herself in the palace complex. She sealed the bronze doors. Only two handmaidens went with her, Iras and Charmian. From inside, she sent a message to Antony. Cleopatra is dead. It was a lie. But Antony believed it. Plutarch gives us Antony's exact words when he heard the news. Why delay any longer, Antony? Fortune has taken away your only reason for living. He was in his chambers, alone except for his slave Eros. Antony ordered Eros to kill him. They'd made an agreement years before. If Antony ever needed to die with honor, Eros would do it. Quick, clean, a soldier's death. Eros took the sword. He looked at Antony. Then he turned the blade on himself and fell dead. Rather than kill his master, Eros chose suicide. Antony had to do it himself. He positioned his sword below his ribs, angled upward toward the heart, the Roman method, quick death if done correctly. He thrust, but the angle was wrong. The blade missed his heart and punctured his stomach. He collapsed, bleeding but alive. Ancient sources describe what happened next in brutal detail. Antony lay on the floor, begging anyone who entered to finish the job. His attendants ran. They couldn't do it. He was still alive when a messenger arrived from Cleopatra. She wasn't dead. She was in her mausoleum. She wanted to see him. They carried Antony through the streets of Alexandria, blood trailing behind him. He was conscious the entire time. When they reached the mausoleum, there was a problem. Cleopatra had sealed the doors and refused to open them. She was terrified that Octavian's men were already in the city. If she opened the doors, they'd capture her. So they hauled Antony up the outside of the building. Plutarch describes it. Cleopatra and her handmaidens threw ropes down from a window on the second floor. They tied the ropes around Antony. 3 women pulled a dying man up a stone wall. He was heavy. They were weak from days without proper food. They screamed with effort. People in the street watched. Some ancient sources say they wept. The great Mark Antony, who'd commanded legions, conquered Parthia, ruled half the Roman world, being hauled up a wall like cargo. They got him through the window. Cleopatra held him while he died. Plutarch says she tore her clothes, beat her breasts, smeared his blood on her face. Antony told her to trust only one of Octavian's men, Gaius Proculaeus. He said she should seek honorable terms, save herself. Then he died in her arms. According to Dio Cassius, this happened on August 1st, around midday. Cleopatra had lost everything: her navy, her army, her husband, her kingdom, and Octavian was coming. Octavian received the news of Antony's death in his military camp outside Alexandria. He sent Gaius Proculaeus immediately, the man Antony had trusted. Proculaeus arrived at the mausoleum. Cleopatra spoke to him through the sealed bronze doors. She wouldn't open them. According to Plutarch, she asked for one thing: let her children rule Egypt. Her son Caesarion was Julius Caesar's biological son. Let him be pharaoh. She'd retire, surrender all power. Proculaeus said he'd take the request to Octavian, but he didn't leave. While Cleopatra was talking through the door, Proculaeus's men were scaling the wall with ladders, the same window they'd pulled Antony through. It was still open. They climbed through silently. Cleopatra was still negotiating at the door when Charmian saw them. She screamed, "Poor Cleopatra, you are taken alive!" Cleopatra spun around, grabbed a dagger from her belt, the one she'd been carrying since Antony died. She raised it to stab herself. Proculaeus tackled her, wrestled the dagger away, pinned her arms. She was captured. Roman historian Florus describes what happened next. They searched her, stripped her of any weapon or poison, posted guards inside the mausoleum, watched her constantly, but they let her stay there. Octavian's orders. Keep her alive. Keep her in the tomb with Antony's body. Why? Because Octavian needed her alive. He was planning his triumph in Rome, the grand victory parade, and the centerpiece would be Cleopatra herself, paraded through the streets in chains. No Roman general had ever captured a reigning monarch alive. It would be the greatest triumph in Roman history. Cleopatra understood this immediately. For 3 days she refused to eat, tried to starve herself to death. Octavian heard about it. He sent a message through Proculaeus. "If you die, we'll kill your children." She started eating. August 10th, 9 days after Antony's death. Octavian agreed to visit Cleopatra in her mausoleum. Ancient sources describe her condition. She was lying on a makeshift bed, hair unwashed, clothes torn from when she'd beaten her breast over Antony's body. Her chest was bruised and infected from self-inflicted wounds. She'd been living in her own tomb, with her dead husband's body for over a week. When Octavian entered, she tried to get up. Couldn't. Too weak. Plutarch gives us the conversation. She begged for mercy, reminded him that Julius Caesar, Octavian's adoptive father, had loved her. She'd borne Caesar's son. Octavian was 32 years old. Cold. Calculating. He'd spent the last 13 years destroying everyone who opposed him. He made no promises. But he did something interesting. He told her she could organize Antony's funeral. Personally, give him proper honors. It was a trap. And Cleopatra knew it. If she organized an elaborate funeral, it would delay everything. Give her time. Time to plan. Time to find a way out. She took the offer. August 12th, Antony's funeral. Cleopatra emerged from the mausoleum for the first time in 11 days. Roman guards surrounded her. She was taken to the palace's ceremonial grounds. They'd prepared Antony's body according to Egyptian custom. Mummification, oils, linen wrappings. Cleopatra had ordered it all. She performed the burial rites herself. Plutarch describes her embracing the coffin, pouring libations, speaking prayers to the Egyptian gods. Then she made a speech. It's recorded in multiple sources, though the exact words vary. She called Antony her husband, her partner, the father of her children. She said they'd been torn apart by fortune, but would be united in death. Then she said something that made the Roman guards nervous. "If there is any power in the gods of this place, do not abandon your wife while she lives. Do not let me be led in triumph to disgrace our love. Hide me here with you in Egypt." She was telling Octavian exactly what she planned to do: die before the triumph. After the funeral, she asked permission to return to the mausoleum one more time, to say a final goodbye, to bathe and dress properly. Octavian, through his representatives, agreed, but he increased the guards, doubled them, made sure she was watched constantly. Cleopatra went back to her tomb. August 12th, afternoon. Cleopatra bathed, changed into royal garments, ate a meal, acted almost normal. Then she wrote a letter, sealed it, gave it to a trusted servant to deliver to Octavian. The letter requested one thing: bury me beside Antony. When Octavian read it, he understood immediately. She was going to kill herself. The letter was a suicide note. He sent guards running to the mausoleum. Stop her, whatever it takes. They were too late. When they burst through the doors, Cleopatra was lying on a golden couch, dead, dressed in full royal regalia. Her handmaiden Iris lay dead at her feet. Charmian was dying, barely conscious, slumped against the wall. One of the guards saw that Cleopatra's crown had shifted, slipped slightly when she collapsed. He shouted at Charmian, "Was this well done, Charmian?" She opened her eyes, used her last breath to answer. Plutarch preserves the exact words. It is well done and fitting for a princess descended of so many royal kings. Then she died trying to adjust the crown, making sure Cleopatra looked like a queen, even in death. The Romans examined the body. No wounds, no blood, no obvious cause of death. But there were two tiny puncture marks on Cleopatra's arm. Poison. The most common theory, recorded by multiple ancient sources, was an asp, a venomous Egyptian cobra, the symbol of Egyptian royalty. But there was no snake in the room. The guards searched everywhere. Some sources say it was smuggled in. A servant brought a basket of figs. The snake was hidden under the fruit. Cleopatra reached in, was bitten. Other sources, including Strabo, who was contemporary to these events, say there was no snake. She used poison she prepared earlier, tested on prisoners, found the perfect blend for a quick, painless death. We don't know for certain. The Roman sources contradict each other. What we do know is this. Cleopatra spent her last days planning her death, testing methods, making sure she'd die before Octavian could parade her through Rome. She succeeded. Octavian was furious. He'd lost his trophy. His triumph would go forward, but it would be incomplete. No living Cleopatra in chains. Instead, he commissioned a statue, a life-size effigy of Cleopatra with a snake wrapped around her arm. He paraded the statue through Rome during his triumph on August 13, 29 BCE. The crowds cheered, but it wasn't the same. Octavian honored Cleopatra's final request. He buried her beside Antony in her mausoleum. The exact location was never recorded and remains lost to history. Her children had different fates. Caesarion, her 17-year-old son, with Julius Caesar, fled to India. Octavian's men caught him. On the advice of the philosopher Arrius Didymus, Octavian had him executed. The quote attributed to Arrius, "Too many Caesars is not good." Cleopatra's 3 children with Antony were spared. Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus were taken to Rome. Raised by Octavian's sister Octavia, ironically Antony's former Roman wife. Cleopatra Selene eventually married Juba II of Numidia. She became a queen in her own right, but she never saw Egypt again. Egypt itself ceased to exist as an independent kingdom. Octavian declared it a personal province, not of Rome, but of the emperor himself. For the next 400 years, Egypt would belong to whoever held the imperial throne. The Ptolemaic dynasty, which had ruled for 300 years, ended with Cleopatra. Here's what the history books often miss. Cleopatra didn't die in a moment of romantic despair. She died after 11 days of brutal psychological torture, living in a tomb, starving herself, being force-fed to stay alive for someone else's triumph. Her last act wasn't weakness. It was the only power she had left. Even Octavian, who became Emperor Augustus and ruled for 40 years, could never claim he defeated Cleopatra. She defeated herself, on her own terms.